So, if we put it in the truck fast enough and leave, you got a new bike.
Yeah.
Well, the customer's gone, so.
Well, good afternoon, guys. You may not know this because you've seen, if you followed any of our videos, you'd realize we're dual sport fanatics. But before that, actually, I did a lot of track riding and some racing on closed courses on this style of bike. Used to be a Rocky geek for almost 20 years. Had numerous bikes and have used them violently. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because locally we have this really cool facility in Duncan, and another even cooler thing about that is you can take riding school there with our friends at Traction Works, and they've even referred people to us to give people a pre-look so that you're arriving at the track with everything you need to go ahead, rather than getting teched at the last second and discovering you've overlooked some minor thing like this gentleman's bike's front brakes. He's right down near the bottom on the brakes. We're gonna get him back for that. But while it was here, we dialed in a few other things for his pre-check. We got his exhaust sorted out by installing a DB killer. We had to drill a hole here to do that insert. He's also struggling with a problem with his clutch interrupt with the aftermarket levers, so we altered the length of the piston on the interrupt switch so that it could use it in any position. And then we did suspension dial in, and that's something we haven't talked about yet, is that if you have a bike and you want to make the best use of it with the components that are on it, we will dial the suspension as best we can, be it a sport bike, enduro bike, ADV bike. And then if we can't get it really close, what we'll do is we'll make recommendations for parts you should invest in to get your suspension working the best. I think it's the number one underrated thing. People are always looking for more horsepower to compensate for issues they're having when it's actually they're fighting the bike. So they're not coming into a corner clean and fast enough, so they're trying to make up for it by on the exit, which is, I mean, it's okay and all, but you're really wasting money, because if you take the course and become a better rider, you can actually take that investment in yourself and you can transfer that to every single bike you own moving forward forever. That's a way better use of your money. And then second is suspension, so the bike isn't fighting you, so you can use it effectively. I've ridden around many a person on a very powerful motorcycle, on a very clapped out older motorcycle, just because it was dialed in correctly, even with what crappy suspension it may have had at the time. It was a Rescue R1. Maybe put a picture of it here from the tow company. People couldn't believe I was going sub 2s at the ridge, but they were all racers and they kind of looked at me funny, a fat old guy going fast. So really cool, really stoked. Will's bike is way better already. We have one more dial in and he'll be good for a track season all summer long. In our last video, we talked about chain alignment and chain tension. But today we're doing a service, and with every service we do a chain maintenance. A lot of conversations people have about what do you use to lube your chain. I think a more important conversation actually is what do you use to clean your chain. Whatever you're using as a lubricant usually has some kind of component in it to make it stick to the chain, and that adhesive property will actually get dirt to stick to it as well. What will happen is you'll lube it and the dirt will stick to your chain, and then you'll lube it and the dirt will stick to your chain, and then you lube it. You see where I'm going with this? You turn into a grinding paste of dirt and mud that's stuck on your chain. So my general rule of thumb is you should clean your chain once a month, lube it once a week, or dependent on mileage. A chain should be serviced at least every few hundred kilometers. If you're on like a trip where you're doing 500 a day, you'll be doing the chain every day. Otherwise, it's once a week is more than enough. But when I talk about cleaning the chain, there's lots of different products that they can sell you. Again, a tip that I learned a long time ago, that the most cost-effective way to clean your chain is kerosene, or cooking oil for camp stoves, etc. like that. It's really cheap. It's super non-caustic. It doesn't hurt any painted finishes. It doesn't hurt stickers or decals, although it can help remove the glue once you've got the stickers off. But it breaks grease down like nobody's business, and it's really easy to control. As you saw, we use a tub and a little brush. Now you can buy an expensive fancy motorcycle specific chain brush, or just go to the dollar store and get a pot scrubbing brush for like $3 and soft bristled nylon. And basically what you want to do is clean all the exposures of the chain and get all of the junk off of the motorcycle. and then you give it a quick wash to make sure that all the kerosene comes off your tires and other components of your motorcycle, so there's no residual slipperiness, and you're good to go. And then whether you use chain wax, chain lube, WD-40, I mean, they're all effective. I like petroleum-based chain lubes because they withstand water when you're riding in the rain or if you're off-road riding in the dirt. Whereas the paraffin-based chain wax will just go away. I actually did a test on a road trip once where at the end of every day the chain lube was gone. It just literally evaporated right off the chain. Again, but it's really easy to clean up and you don't need to use kerosene, soap, and water. Go figure. But manufacturers actually even say you can use WD-40, but you have to apply it every time you ride the bike. It's a cleaner and a lubricant. Works really, really well. But again, I don't care what type of product you use, just use it and then clean it. Make sure you don't have that buildup. You want a nice, super clean looking chain when you're done with it. A really cool part of this job is that quite often I have good relationships with people who I've done work with, or I've serviced their bikes for, or even sold their bikes to. And often I call them boomerang bikes, bikes that come back to me for regular service that I have a relationship with or I've owned sometimes multiple times. Today I get to work on, and then this is, I get all nostalgic, my championship winning FS 450. Where I rode my heart out and did so many laps in order to try and prove something to myself or determine whether I could be a winner. And I participated my way to a championship at Western Speedway in our Supermoto Club on this very motorcycle. It now belongs to our friend Pete, and we're here to do a prep and a service for it for the season. So it's good to do a whole bunch of riding, training, and track days for him. He's already been out on the track with it this year and really enjoying it. The funny thing is because it is all prepped for track days and race events at different places, we actually have gotten it all wired, and I have to, in order to do the service, remove a whole bunch of safety wire from the motorcycle before I can even drain the oil. So here we go. Well, as we said, we were going to end up down here at Rebel Garage and hang out for the day and do a pop-up. We've been non-stop since we got here at noon, and lots of awesome friends have dropped by. And our Bexy dogs are chilling out over there. I think they've had a little bit of love and attention. If you don't remember, this is our sweet buddy Richard. Hasn't made an appearance in a video since we were in Cozumel. He was our diving guru. Yes.
Come check us out.
Yeah, we're gonna get out and do some riding, and then we have to find some way to get back down there and dive with him again. I've already alluded to what's the airfare to Cozumel cost.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy.
Okay. The other day we were on the Dawn ride, and again it came up. A really experienced rider that I know really well was asking me about fuel economy on their bikes and why it was so poor. And I asked immediately, what grade of fuel are you putting in your motorcycle? Oh, premium 94. It's all I ever use. And then unfortunately, that particular motorcycle has a low compression engine, does not require high octane fuel, and it calls for 87. I've been beating this drum for a really long time, and I talk about gasoline. A lot of people believe when they pay more money, they get better gasoline, and that's not actually even remotely true. You're getting more what I would describe as accurate gasoline. Gasoline that will only combust under the most specific of situations. If you have a high compression motor, you don't want the fuel igniting prematurely, because that will actually slow the piston down and put an incredible load on the bearings, the crank, and all that kind of stuff. If you have a turbocharged Subaru, for instance, you really want to be running high octane fuel, because it has high compression pistons and you can do a lot of damage, head gaskets and stuff like that. If you have a KTM, a lot of times they call for 91 or better fuel. You're going to want to use that fuel to create longevity in your motor and prevent that bearing issue that I'm talking about. But if you do not have that, and your owner's manual will say, what is the minimum requirement of fuel for my motorcycle? A lot of people are quite shocked when I tell them that my Africa Twin has only ever run on regular pump gas. The bike was engineered to run on gas all around the world. It's a world traveling motorcycle, and in a lot of places, high compression motorcycles suffer because you can't get really good fuel for that issue. I fell into it again. Good fuel. Now, if you run a lower octane fuel, it will combust earlier, more completely, and you'll get a better burn rate out of it. I did an experiment once where I rode around the continent on a VTR 1000, and every time I got gas, I kept lowering the grade of fuel I bought. And that bike is not a high compression engine, so it ran on 87 octane happily. And what I discovered is that every time I went down, I got greater and greater gas mileage because I could burn the fuel more completely. So the lesson in this little talk, our tech talk, is use the appropriate gasoline for your motor. And by spending more money on gas, it isn't necessarily doing you any good. You're actually, in many cases, wasting money on gas your bike does not need. And ironically, creating a situation where you're getting worse gas mileage than you would if you're running regular unleaded gasoline. So remember, check your bike specs, run that gas, and that's all you really need. So there you go. I want to thank the guys at Rebel Garage. We had an awesome turnout, and it was quite a lovely evening. I want to say super big thank you to everyone who's been super supportive of our Tech Talk videos. Didn't expect them to be this well accepted, but please throw your comments below, give us a like, and hopefully if we pick one of your questions, we can do a video about that.